Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is once again time for us to sit down together and have a long, verbose, and in-depth discussion about one of my video game collections. Now, this is an interesting video game collection, if I can actually get it all situated on my desk, because while, yes, most of my video game collections are ever-growing, ever-evolving, shit, I'm dropping everything, you know, this is one where, yes, I have many Wii games I want to buy again in the future. Though, if I'm going to be honest, it is not top list priority right now, simply due to the fact that a lot of the Wii games that I would want, you know, they're, I already have them, like, digitally on my Wii U, and my Wii U's also modded, and then, you know, I mean, like, you know, the Wii's a great console, and there's still plenty of games I do want to get for it at some point and add it to my collection, but for a lot of the first-party heavy hitters and just a lot of other things, it's just one of those things where I either had the games in the past, so I already played them, and just would like to get them again in my collection at some point. So yeah, if at some point I end up drastically expanding my Wii collection, which I would like to at some point, like, there's definitely a lot of more Wii games I would like to get, but for right now, this is kind of where it's going to be, because there's a lot of other consoles I gotta collect for. I gotta get my hands on the Switch 2 yet at some point, so this will probably be unchanging for a while. So let me go ahead and divvy this up, and then I think we'll actually get into it with the cardboard sleeves right off the rip, because I only have two of these. So the first one, obviously being Wii Sports. If you have a Wii or Wii U, you should have Wii Sports. If you don't have Wii Sports, I'm sorry, but you might be a moron. When I think of the game, right, it doesn't matter if we're talking hanging out with family members, if you're hanging out with the girlfriend or the wife or your friends, it doesn't matter. If you're like, what game do we play? Wii Sports is always that game. Between bowling, golf, tennis, boxing, baseball, like, there's just, man, you gotta love Wii Sports, and then obviously got, like, Wii Sports Resort as well. It is also worth mentioning that this technically isn't my entire Wii collection, because I kind of just share games with my family, right, because, you know, my mom and my other siblings have, like, a Wii and everything, so sometimes we just kind of, like, exchange games, like, oh, you got this game, you mind if I borrow it, and, you know, kind of goes back and forth, because, like, they have Wii Sports Resort and everything like that, for example, whereas me, I just have, like, the basic Wii Sports, just because, you know, since I'm a little bit older, I was there for the initial Wii Sports, and while, yes, obviously I was also there for the Wii Sports Resort, I just never ended up playing that one as much, just because I was already so fond of Wii Sports, so I just ended up sticking with that one mainly, even though Resort did only come out like a short time afterwards. Anyway, the other game that I have in a sleeve, unfortunately, is New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Now, the fact that the game is New Super Mario Bros. Wii isn't the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is that it's in a sleeve, because I'd rather have this than the other game inside of here in a case, because I have not only New Super Mario Bros. Wii in here, but also Mario Kart Wii. Yeah, I don't have the case for it, so I'll have to look for maybe like a case-only copy, maybe complete with the manual and everything like that on eBay or Mercari, so that I can complete those copies, but again, at that point, I don't know. The market's a little hoopla-doobla right now, so I'm not sure. I might just have to invest in whole other copies and then just kind of like hand these off to my mom and my siblings at some point once I get those complete copies. Anyway, next up we got Disney GeForce. If you know me, you know I love my movie tie-in, Disney, DreamWorks, all of that stuff from this era. Basically everything from, well, I want to say around like the NES era is when we really started to see licensed tie-in games become a thing, with things like the Little Mermaid game and then like the Batman video game are just some of the main ones that I think about. Going up to this Wii, Xbox 360, PS3 generation, we still had those movie tie-in games, and by the time the Xbox, you know, One and PS4 generation came around, it was very few and far between. Nowadays, we are starting to see a bit of a resurgence. Like, I think we had that Grinch video game. Actually, I'll be right back. I'll show it to you guys. We got things like this here on PS5 with the Grinch Christmas Adventures, for example. So we got stuff like that. We had the Lord of the Rings Gollum, which, you know, it's not in the same fashion of something like this, right? Because this was directly tied into a movie specifically for marketing purposes. But, you know, we are starting to see just some more of these licensed tie-in games return, like we would have saw back a few generations back. Have we? Ah, man, the disc is a little loose. I'm gonna have to crack this open at some point to get that settled so it doesn't get too scratched, but anyway, yeah, we haven't really seen a full return to movie tie-in games. The closest we've gotten is like mobile games, right? You got stuff like Minion Rush, which I remember came out back during like Despicable Me 2 and some other things that have come along since, but not much beyond that, unfortunately. But GeForce is a really fun game. Next up, we got Disney Epic Mickey, which this game, I've always absolutely loved it, and I love the utilization of the Wiimote inside of this game. Now, this game did just get a remake recently, which is pretty cool, but if you've never played Epic Mickey before, the name kind of speaks for itself. This is one hell of an Epic Mickey adventure. Like, this game is genuinely epic, as well as its sequel, Epic Mickey 2, which was on many more devices, because this game was basically just on the Wii, whereas Epic Mickey 2 was on things even like the PS Vita. But basically, you have like a paintbrush in this game, and your Wiimote sort of acts like the paintbrush, and you know, you can interact with the world in various ways. It always reminded me of Concrete Genie on PS4. If you guys have ever played that game before, that game is super underrated in my opinion. I can't remember the developer of that game off the top of my head, but they make some great games in general. But Epic Mickey is a fantastic adventure. I highly recommend checking this game out, and since it was remade, it's literally on like every console now. You don't have an excuse. You should definitely check out Epic Mickey, which is now called Epic Mickey Rebrushed at some point. Hopefully they bring back Epic Mickey 2, because again, it was available on more consoles, so it shouldn't be that hard to figure it out, especially with the controls and whatnot. Like, it would take a lot less to bring that game forward compared to, you know, the first Epic Mickey, I think. Next up, we got Donkey Kong Country Returns, which has always been one of my favorite 2D platformers of all time. Similar to other Donkey Kong Country games, this game is slightly more challenging than your typical Mario or Sonic or something like that. Is it absurdly challenging like Dark Souls? Absolutely not. Is it going to be more challenging though? Yeah, definitely. So if you like something more like, I want to say like Mega Man, for example, like the original Mega Man games, are they the most difficult things in the world? Absolutely not. But you do kind of have to use your brain, and they do challenge you a little bit in some ways. Then I would say Donkey Kong Country, and subsequently something like Donkey Kong Country Returns, and then especially like Tropical Freeze, which is a fantastic game, and I actually still have that game in my Wii U collection, which I might have to do a video on my Wii U collection at some point, because I do have some great games in that collection. But getting back on track here. Yeah, the Donkey Kong Country games, they make you think, they make you work, but they're not unfair by any means. They're just a little more challenging, and I've always loved these games. They have so much charm between the main characters, obviously, of like Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong and Cranky Kong and, you know, all this and all the other characters that we added to it, and I don't even know what the word would be, but the foresty theme, the soundtrack to all the games, like, I don't know what you would call that style of music. I almost want to say, like, African-esque, but that's not exactly right. Regardless, Donkey Kong Country Returns is a fantastic game, and this game also got a remaster recently of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD on the Switch earlier this year, which you can now subsequently play on Switch 2, since Switch 2 is mostly backwards compatible with all Switch 1 games. Next up, we have Chaotic Shadow Warriors. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it's been a few years since I played this one. I do remember it's like a turn-based RPG, and surprisingly, this one's actually published by Activision, so this is probably one of the lesser-known Activision games. From what I can remember off the top of my head, it was a lot of fun. It's been a number of years since I played it, so I'd have to revisit it to be able to tell you more about it, honestly. Next up, we got Call of Duty Black Ops. This is a game, well, really just all the Call of Duties. I always liked I've always loved playing the COD games on the Wii, but specifically like Black Ops and Black Ops 2, because you get the wide range of modes, right? You got the multiplayer, you got the campaign, but you also got the zombies in there, which I've always loved playing zombies with the Wiimotes. You like turn the 1911 gangsta style to like shoot them or whatever, and you can do that with basically all the weapons in the game, and it's really cool because you can like turn the weapon and sort of like inspect them. It was like inspect animations before inspect animations, and you can kind of like do your own thing. It's sort of like how VR is now, because you see a lot of those clips floating around like TikTok and YouTube, and you know, people in VR being able to do all this cool stuff with their guns, but you could do that with the Wii back in the day, like Black Ops 1, and then again in Black Ops 2 on the Wii U, you could do that if you hooked up Wiimote to the Wii U and play the game that way. Now, I will say, whereas the COD games on Wii U were basically one-to-one with the 360 and PS3 versions, the Wii was basically like, alright, here's the PS2 version of Call of Duty Black Ops. You know, the graphics were a bit lower, it was running like 480p, but it was still a solid experience through and through, and yeah, if you haven't played Call of Duty on a Wii before, you know, even if you don't have a Wii or a Wii U, or if you can't pick one up yourself, I'd recommend at least looking at videos of it, which, lucky for you, I've made a number of Call of Duty Black Ops Wii videos in the past. You just have to scroll back, like, a couple years, and since I upload daily, that means you probably have to scroll through at least 1,000 videos, but I promise you'll find it eventually. It is back there, and, yeah, I had a lot of fun making those videos. Next up, we got Bakugan Battle Brawlers. This is another one where it's been a number of years since I played it. If I remember correctly, this one is very similar to the board game. Board game, card game, same difference, but this one just, there's like a lot of the card elements inside of the game. I actually always really liked Bakugan. It's just one of those things where I'm definitely not as knowledgeable about it as I am, say, compared to like Pokemon or Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something like that. Regardless, this is a game that I do remember having a lot of fun with. Next up, we have Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I have it on multiple devices. I have it on my PSP, on my, what do I have? Well, clearly here on the Wii, Xbox 360. I don't know, I have it on a number of consoles as well as its sequel, Ultimate Alliance 2. Ultimate Alliance is essentially like Diablo meets Marvel. That's a really bad comparison because it doesn't have the looting aspects. I'm not talking about like the looting aspects of Diablo, but I more mean the isometric action angle of it, right? Like it's very RPG heavy. You're gonna be upgrading your stats. You can switch between a bunch of the different characters in the game, right? Like, I like you literally start out the game playing as like Spider-Man, and, like Captain America, and all that on that ship level. It's kind of crazy just how scalable this game was because it ran on things like the Xbox 360 and the PS3, which were next gen at the time, but it also ran on like a PSP and like a PS2. So this game was, you know, whoever was behind the optimization on this game, hats off to you, man. Round of applause. Y'all did an amazing job. But Marvel Ultimate Alliance highly gets a massive recommendation from me. I believe for a time, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it was Ultimate Alliance that was available for a time on Xbox One and PS4, but for some reason ended up getting pulled down. No idea why. And unfortunately, Ultimate Alliance 3 is still a Switch exclusive, so I don't know if that's ever going to come to the other consoles. It'd be cool if it did, because, you know, the Ultimate Alliance games are awesome, and Alliance 3 is awesome, but not as many people got to experience it just due to it being exclusive. Staying in the whole Marvel theme here, we got Marvel Superhero Squad, which, you know, as you can see from the cover, the characters in this game almost look like Funko Pops in a way. Now, this is definitely much more straightforward. It's basically just like a beat-em-up, 3D platformer-ish type thing, where you're just running from level to level, beating up a bunch of enemies, following a rather simplistic story. You know, this one, whereas Ultimate Alliance was like a bit more mature, kind of leaning into the RPG elements, I mean, this game's literally rated E10. It's definitely geared towards a younger audience. That being said, just because a game is geared at a younger audience doesn't mean that it's any less in terms of sheer quality, right? Because, I mean, I'm the same guy that still plays Barbie Dreamhouse Party on his 3DS and, you know, goes back to replay, like, all the LEGO games and whatnot. Even though, yes, this game is definitely geared at a slightly younger audience, it's still a great time, and I had a lot of fun playing through this game. Next up, we have a game that I really don't have any experience with. This is a game that I just kind of got as part of a lot, because I order a lot of lots sometimes. If you're unfamiliar with what a lot is, basically, you can find these bundles on eBay and Mercari, and they'll be called lots, and you can get a lot of games, even if some of the games inside of the bundle aren't ones that you're particularly looking for, but you can get it for a deal. So say, rather than buying two separate games for $20, you could buy a bundle for $25 that has the two games you originally wanted, plus like 5-6 other games. You know what I mean? So this is one of those situations where I just got this out of a lot, that being Let's Paint. Just looking at it, actually this game does look really cool. Apparently it's like if you guys remember like Microsoft Paint, for example, it looks like something sort of like that, but for the Wii, and you can like color stuff in. Personally, I don't think I've ever even played this one before, but I might actually have to pop it in later. I'm actually kind of glad I made this video now, because yeah, there is some games in this collection I genuinely just haven't played or am not familiar with. So, yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Next up, we got LEGO Indiana Jones 2 with a pretty gnarly sticker on it. Yeah, it's a sticky one. That one ain't coming off. I mean, this case in general is just, yeah, this is a rough case. I'm gonna have to do a case swap on this one at some point. But anyway, LEGO Indiana Jones 2. I know out of all the LEGO games, this one is definitely the most divisive, or one of the most divisive. I'd say that LEGO Movie 2 is the most divisive LEGO game now, but for a time, LEGO Indiana Jones 2 was the most divisive just due to the different format of the game, right? Like, if you look at a game like LEGO Batman 2, or especially something like LEGO Batman, which this was more the precedent at the time, because LEGO Batman 2 sort of started a new era for LEGO games with the open world and the voice acting, and it really went into its own thing. But LEGO Indiana Jones 2 came out during the earlier era of LEGO games where, you know, you had like these different worlds you'd go to. Like, for example, LEGO Batman, you had the Batmobile levels, the Batplane levels, the Batboat levels, and then you had like the same thing kind of over on the villain side, and it would just be like a 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5 format. You know, you go through the different chapters playing through the levels. But LEGO Indiana Jones 2 sought to switch up that formula, have some more mini levels and mini games in between, and change up the format of the levels. Some levels were just straight up like LEGO beat-em-ups, other ones were traditional LEGO levels, some were driving levels. And the game was also a lot more goofy, where past LEGO games stayed pretty close to the source material, stayed pretty faithful, and only took slight deviations here and there just for the sake of like comedy or keeping things light or altering certain things to make it be appropriate for a younger audience. LEGO Indiana Jones 2 totally took things like, you know, to a whole other level. They had like these crazy Dark Souls looking boss fights in the game, and no matter what people say, man, I've always enjoyed LEGO Indiana Jones 2. It's just one of those situations where I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, this is different from what we're used to, therefore we're just going to complain about it because that's what, you know, people do. People are just petty. But I've always really enjoyed this game. Love LEGO Indiana Jones 2. That's a game that I actually bought multiple times as well. I had it on my PSP, my DS, my Wii, Xbox 360 at one point, etc. Next up, we got LEGO Batman the video game, which is just one of my favorite games of all time. I've talked about it time and time again. I love LEGO Batman the video game. The fact that for a LEGO game, it is still relatively dark, right? Because most LEGO games, you look at them and say, going back to LEGO Indiana Jones 2 here, for example, they're a lot lighter in tone, they're a lot happier, a bit more happy-go-lucky, whatever. But LEGO Batman, well, yes, there was still humor in this game, you know, Batman picking on Robin and whatnot, even though there wasn't any voice acting, you know, they just kind of like the silent picking. It was still a lot darker. Like, you look at the art direction of the game, the music for the game, just the sheer violence in the game. Like, bro, you go to punch somebody or kick them, they fly like halfway across the room and explode into like 5 million pieces. Like, what the hell? Like, seriously, this game was kind of dark, even though it was still like a lighthearted LEGO game. I just always loved the game. It had so much grit. I used to always think LEGO Batman was just so badass. And even still, I think it's badass, dude. Like, all the characters in the game. And I will say, going on to, you know, LEGO Batman 2 here, this game definitely lost a little bit of the edge edge. It's not like a worse game by any means. Like, no, there's like all the LEGO games are fantastic. It's just that this one has less of that dark edge and definitely lighten things up just a little bit. It still has a lot of those darker Tim Burton-esque elements. It's a bit lighter when compared to LEGO Batman, which I felt was like kind of gritty for a LEGO game, bro. Like, seriously, you play that game and it's a whole vibe. Next up, we got Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which is one of my favorite games that I've ever played. This is one of those games where if I'm having a bad day, if I'm sad, if I'm angry, this game will just make me feel good. And if I'm already feeling good, this game will just make me feel better. Between the music in the game, the little dances Kirby does, and just how laid back the gameplay is. Because, well, yes, there's some boss fights that will be a bit more mechanically demanding of you right towards the end of the game, especially. It's never too much of a challenge to where it's like, okay, this is like BS, or it never gets to a point where it feels overwhelming. It's just the right amount of challenge to keep you engaged, just the right amount of gameplay to keep you rolling through the game. And I'm so glad that this game ended up getting a remaster slash remake of sorts with Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, where they slightly alter the art style. I'm always a bit divisive when it comes to developers changing the art style in remaster slash remakes, because I feel like it tends to tarnish the original artistic vision. But in the case of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, I feel like it worked just because they went for the cel-shaded art style, which aligns with other Kirby things that we've seen in the past. And even if I am partial to the original art style of the game, just because I really feel like, you know, that's just what that game was doing on the Wii at the time, I feel like the new art style is great and all. But if I go back to replay Kirby's Return to Dreamland, you already know I'm picking up the Wii version. Next up, we got Just Dance 2014. Can't say a lot about this game. I played DDR and Just Dance and all this back in the day, especially DDR. I played DDR more than Just Dance for sure, but I never ended up playing them a whole ton. You know, I'm the type of gamer where I kind of just like to sit on my ass and not do anything. There is some exceptions to that, right? Like, I'll stand up to play Wii Sports just because, you know, it's Wii Sports and some of the Wii Play games and whatnot. But yeah, you know, when it gets a bit beyond that, you know, like I love Guitar Hero and Rock Band and all that, but when it gets to just getting all crazy and physical, sorry, I'm a lazy butt. I gotta sit on my ass and play some video games, you know what I mean? Next up, we got Hot Wheels Track Attack, which there's not a whole lot to say here. The Hot Wheels games are always a lot of fun. This is just a fun racing game, and this was one of those Hot Wheels games that actually had a lot of the Hot Wheels aesthetic inside of it, you know, because there's been some Hot Wheels games in the past that try to, you know, go all big and crazy with it and do some more drastic stuff, but this was like very unapologetically Hot Wheels. The cars were all just Hot Wheels, and while yes, you did have some fantastical locations inside of this that drifted, because, you know, like you got the new Hot Wheels Unleashed games, and those are just pure Hot Wheels. You're like on the tracks the whole time. This one is definitely less of that, but it's kind of a nice blend between, okay, there's like these crazy Hot Wheels tracks and these Sonic type loops inside of these levels that also seem a bit more realistic, but you're still driving Hot Wheels around and whatnot. So yeah, you know, this one's really fun, and it was published by THQ. I've always loved THQ, definitely because I'm partial to a lot of the you know, like the movie licensed tie-in games and whatnot that they published back in the day. Love THQ. They've been through a lot over the years. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I don't even know what the current state of them is. I'm pretty sure they got bought up by Embracer, but the whole Embracer acquisition, oh my goodness, dude, that's a whole can of worms for another day. Anyway, we're getting into the second stack here, so we still got a while to go. Next up, we have one of my favorite games of all time, period. Like, gosh, just looking at this cover gets me so nostalgic, bro. Spider-Man Web of Shadows. I love this game so much, and I have it multiple times. I have it on my Wii, my Xbox 360, my PSP. I have it on my PS2, and the PSP and PS2 versions are actually different from the Wii and Xbox 360 slash PC versions. It's a whole can of worms for another day. The Wii slash 360 slash PS3 slash PC version are, you know, like 3D open world Spider-Man games, whereas the PSP and PS2 version are 2D side scroller. I can't, it's not exactly like a beat 'em up, not exactly a platformer. I don't know how to explain it. It's just you kind of run around exploring and whatnot, sort of like Mega Man, but it's Spider-Man. It's like really the only comparison I can bring. It's called the Amazing Allies Edition. I'd recommend looking up gameplay of it because it is actually pretty cool, but I've always loved Web of Shadows because it always reminded me of Infamous and the way that your choices all matter, right? By the end of the game, the ending that you get, what characters survive, what happens, all depends on your choices. Are you going to be the good red suit Spider-Man, or are you going to be the bad black suit Spider-Man? I've always loved that transition, how like the front's the red Spider-Man, on the back you got the black there, he's swinging it, and I always thought this cover was so badass, dude. You got Wolverine there in one fist showing the good side, you got Venom on the other one, and Venom just looks so gnarly on that cover, and then the way the city looks, like, if there was ever a perfect cover art
That's it!
And believe it or not, this game runs surprisingly well on the Wii. Granted, when I go back to play it, I always do it on the Xbox 360, but the Wii is like a competent way of experiencing that game. And the next game we're going to be talking about here is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Now, there is another game, there was actually like other just Spider-Man games in general that I don't have here in my collection for the Wii specifically, but one that I do have, I just don't have it physically, is Edge of Time. I have that one digitally on my Wii U. That game is also fantastic, and it's sort of like a sequel-ish to Shattered Dimensions here, but Shattered Dimensions is definitely one of my favorite Spider-Man games of all time. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, there's another version of Web of Shadows. You got the DS version, which was very similar to the DS version of Shattered Dimensions. Shattered Dimensions was basically the refined version, in terms of the DS version. The DS version of this game was the refined version of this. You know what I mean? But in terms of the console versions, this was very different, because this game came out in like 2010, 2011, I want to say. 2008, no, 2010. It was 2010. Okay, I was pretty sure it was 2010. Anyway, so yeah, this came out at the point where, like, you know, the PS2 and PSP weren't getting as much support at that point, so it didn't get a version like Web of Shadows did. But basically, in the Wii version of this game specifically, because the DS version of this game and Web of Shadows are like Metroidvanias, and I've gone on to say many times how those Spider-Man games are some of my favorite DS games, period. But on the console version, they are actually just level-based Spider-Man game. So unlike Web of Shadows, where it's an open world, you're going to be going to level, and in each level, you'll be playing as a new Spider-Man. So you have the 2099 Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, Noir Spider-Man, and Ultimate Spider-Man. Sorry, I was holding a bit low. And the Ultimate Spider-Man, which is essentially just like, you know, the black suit, has all the crazy symbiote abilities and whatnot. And yeah, you know, it's pretty straightforward. You know, you'll be solving puzzles, doing some slight platforming challenges, a lot of beat 'em up type stuff, and the combat in this game is next level. Oh, and don't get me started on the final boss, dude. If you've never played this game before and don't think you'll ever have the time to, at least do yourself a favor and look up some footage of the final battle from Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Just seeing Mysterio there, oh my goodness, dude, that is one of the most gnarly, badass, artistically beautiful, just fucking rad boss fights that I've ever seen in a video game. It is so cool. And if you've never played Shattered Dimensions before, I definitely recommend doing yourself a favor and checking it out. Fantastic game. Next up, we have an interesting game, that being Sonic and the Secret Rings. Now, you might be like, why is this one interesting in particular? And it's because this and another Sonic game on the Wii had a very particular control scheme, which is why this game and the other one only ever released on Wii. And that is because, unlike something like, say, Sonic Frontiers or Sonic Forces or any of the other Sonic games where you can run around freely, this one you control with the Wiimote, sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, like you're kind of running all the time, and you just sort of tilt the Wiimote to decide what lane you're gonna run in. You know, you do have some more control beyond that, but that's basically how the platforming and how all the movement goes in this game. Again, it does open up at some points, but for a lot of it, when you're just like running around doing your stuff, that's kind of the gameplay loop, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a very unique concept for a game, but it's definitely a game where it's like, okay, this was something that could really only exist on Wii, or it's not that it could only exist on Wii, but it's just like, okay, this game is at home on the Wii. Like, it could totally be on like an Xbox 360 or a PS3, but it just makes sense that it's a Wii game. Talking of games that just make sense that they're a Wii game, that being Wii Music. We had a lot of these games, you know, think Wii Fit, Wii Play, Wii Sports, now we have Wii Music. This one was definitely a bit more basic compared to the other Wii games, right? You think like Wii Sports or Wii Play, they found really innovative and cool ways to use the Wiimote in new ways, such as playing sports, playing cool games like tanks in Wii Play, you're playing pool, or, you know, just any of that other cool, funny, quirky stuff in the other games. Whereas Wii Music, it was a cool game, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. You can play a wide range of instruments, right? You got like violins and pianos and guitars and drums and all this, and there's very customizable, and there's a lot that you can do inside of it. A lot of that classic Nintendo charm that you would come to expect from a first-party game like this that really seeks to utilize the hardware in new and unique ways. But it was definitely a bit more stripped back, a bit more basic, because when you're playing a Wiimote and you're trying to play an instrument, sure, you can do cool things like pretend you're playing a flute and like hold it up here, and I gotta be careful how I move my hands here, otherwise somebody's gonna clip this and do something naughty with it. Anyway, you know, you click like the 1 and 2 button and pretend you're doing like all this, and it's a fun time, it really is, but it's definitely a bit more basic compared to the other Wii games. It's not something quite like Wii Sports where you're gonna pop it in nonstop, you're like, oh, just one more round, but when you're looking for something chill, laid back to do, especially if, you know, you're playing with some younger people that just kind of want to shake a Wii remote around and make some noise, Wii Music is fantastic for that. Next up, we have two really cool games that are very different depending on what platform you're playing on. So first up, we have Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which is much more akin to your typical Transformers game, right? Like 3D action, you'll be transforming into vehicles as well as just normal, like, you know, just normal Transformer stuff, running around, shooting stuff, blowing stuff up, having a great time, following the story of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and it's a great time. But then you got one here of Transformers Dark of the Moon Stealth Force Edition. Now, while on the other consoles, you know, is much more like something like, say, Revenge of the Fallen, here, the Stealth Force Edition on Wii as well as 3DS is not necessarily pared back, but it's just a different game in general. In this one, you actually just play as the car Transformers the whole time, and you're just driving around doing vehicle combat. It's sort of like, okay, what if Twisted Metal met Transformers and we made a whole game about it? It's not very long. You can beat it rather quickly. However, there is like co-op in the game, like multiplayer and PvP and whatnot. So if you want to do that, you know, you can do that as well. Or if you just want to replay, try to get like higher scores and whatnot, you can do that. It's a fun game. It's definitely a lot different compared to the other Transformers game, but I've always really enjoyed that one just because it is so different and it is really cool. And it makes me curious to see, like, okay, we had Twisted Metal as a Transformers game, but what if we had a racing game sort of like Hot Wheels based off of Transformers, except it had like split-second elements? If you guys haven't played Split Second before, it's this racing game where you can destroy the entire environment as you go. So as you pull off drifts and boosts and near misses and all this, you know, you get more score, you build up this meter, and let's say, oh, I don't know, you're driving by a construction site and there's like a giant crane overhead. If you wanted to, and your bar is ready, you could drop the entire crane on your opponent. You know, you just kill them. So seeing something like that for Transformers could actually be pretty cool if they do it. Next up, we got The Sims 3, just completely changing gears here. I remember The Sims 3 was a bit different on Wii compared to the other consoles, and if I remember correctly, this is the one that had some loading issues where it would load a lot. It just like, it was running on the Wii, but just barely, just because this was a bit of a bigger game. But hey, The Sims 3 is a great game. I mainly played it on Xbox 360 back in the day, and I actually still have that copy. The Sims 3 is a great Sims game. I would say my most played Sims game would either be Sims 3 or Sims 2, or maybe even Sims Free Play, because I had that on my iPod Touch back in the day. But yeah, Sims 3 is a great game. Unfortunately, though, I don't have as much experience with it on Wii. I think I only played it on the Wii a handful of times, but then I went back to the Xbox 360 version just because that's where all my progress was. Next up, we have Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which in my... I'm gonna get some flack for saying this, I think, but I think if I had to pick a favorite Smash game, I think it's Brawl. I know. Everybody's gonna, you know, I feel like I'm gonna catch some flack for that, but just hear me out. I'm a solo gamer, okay? I don't have any friends, I don't have any family, and, you know, I don't have any girlfriends or anything, and even if I did, I've always been more of a solo gamer. Even when I used to have friends, I've always just been like, okay, you guys want to play like Madden and I don't know what other like other first-person shooters they were all playing and whatnot. And you know, I very much have that inside of me too, right? Like I know Life COD all the time, and that's very much a multiplayer game. But I also play that game entirely solo. I just enjoy Call of Duty, but I play it solo. And yeah, man, even for multiplayer experiences like Smash, I've always just been a solo gamer. So with Smash Brawl, not only do you have all of the like endless amounts of content that you would expect from a Smash game, right? Because I also go back and play like Smash for 3DS all the time, just because it's very easy to pick up a play, you dive in, you play a few matches, you dive out. And I've always just really loved the art style in Smash for 3DS as well, and how it has like that cell shaded thing. There's still a lot of the unlockables, you can run through and, you know, beat the game and whatnot in a reasonable amount of time. Always loved that game, and as well as like Smash Wii U. And again, man, like as much as I have nostalgia for, say, Smash Melee, and as much as I love Smash Ultimate, it's just, this is the ultimate package for me, right? Like you had the Emissary Subspace mode, which is essentially like an entire like 8 to 12 hour Super Smash Bros. Campaign / story mode, whatever you want to call it, complete with cutscenes and character moments and plot twists and climaxes and all this, right? Like it's the complete single player experience of Smash with all these crazy cutscenes in between. You can make like a whole movie or two out of it. So you have that, as well as all the other insane amounts of content in here, right? Like, yeah, like the Ocarina of Time demos inside of here, for example. If somebody was literally able to beat somehow, they like speed ran it, pulled some crazy tricks off. I don't know. I saw a YouTube video about that a while ago, and I just always thought that was insane. But yeah, man, if I had to pick a favorite Smash just off of pure content, I would say Smash Brawl is probably it, just due to that Emissary Subspace mode. You also had a lot of really cool fighters in here, like Snake and Sonic and whatnot. Just, you know, Smash always knocks it out of the park when it comes to their rosters. I will say my most played Smash is actually Smash for 3DS. Either Smash for 3DS or Wii U, but I think it is actually for 3DS. But again, my favorite in general, definitely Smash Brawl. Next up, we got Red Steel, which is a game that I've always loved. It caught some flack when it first released, but I've always enjoyed it. A lot of people are a bit warmer when it comes to Red Steel 2, just because it was basically everything Red Steel 1 did, but like a bit more refined, touched up the controls, and it even had like the Wii Motion Plus support, just so you could be more accurate with everything. This is a first-person shooter for the Wii, published by Ubisoft, and I mean, that basically all there is to say about it, you know, like, it's a really good time. It's one of those games where it's a lot of fun when you're playing it. It's just hard to know what to say, because that's basically, once you hear the concept, that's basically what it is, right? Like, you got, like, katanas, you got guns and all that. It's really badass. You got some fun blood and shooting action in here, but, you know, beyond that, you know, it's one of those things where I'm not trying to be reductive when I say this. Like, it's a really fun game. I genuinely love this game. It's just, it's hard to know what to say beyond that base concept, you know what I mean? Like, you see some of the stuff on the back, you know, it's a great time. I do recommend picking it up if you have a Wii or a Wii U and haven't played it before, especially its sequel, Red Steel 2, because then it lets you utilize the Wii Motion Plus capabilities, and you can kind of have some more accuracy and more fluidity of movement with the guns and such, which is pretty cool. Next up, we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is just, you know, like a 3D beat 'em up. You can beat it relatively quickly, too. I remember I only beat this game within, like, a couple of hours, but it's a fun time. You know, it's sort of like Turtles in Time, but stripped back on the combo mechanics, stripped back on the difficulty, in a 3D setting, and you're just running around beating stuff up. It's a fun time, genuinely, and it's based off of the Nickelodeon show, which I always thoroughly enjoyed. When it comes to my Turtles, though, I'm definitely much more of a 90s Turtle guy. Like, that first movie, Tonight I Will Down on Turtle Soup, that's my Turtles right there. You get that, plus the 2003 cartoon. That's my Turtles. Next up, we got Nerf N-Strike Elite, which I have always loved this game. This is really cool. This is sort of like an arcade style game. Think like House of the Dead, where, you know, you're pointing the Wiimote at the screen, and it'll kind of automatically move you from level to level. It'll automatically move you through, and all you got to do is point and shoot and stuff. But you do it with Nerf guns. What else do I gotta say? I love games like this. Like, I've gone on record so many times talking about games like this and how much I adore them. Like House of the Dead, like the Resident Evil, Umbrella Chronicles, and, you know, like Dark Side Chronicles and whatnot, and, you know, games similar to this. They're just a lot of fun. This one is also rather short. You can beat this one in, like, I think I beat this in, like, 2-3 hours, something like that, maybe tops. But it's worth every second. It's a lot of fun, and you can pick that one up for pretty cheap. Next up, we got the My Sims collection, which has My Sims and My Sims Racing inside of it. So if you're unsure of what My Sims is, it's basically like Sims, but like Funko Pops and with less of the godlike complex. Right, because The Sims is basically just like God Simulator, so this is less of the God Simulator elements and more just like, okay, you're playing as these cute little Sims, directing them around and whatnot. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a whole lot of experience with My Sims. I played some of the games, but not all of them. I do gotta go back and play some of these. I really have an itching to, but from what I've played, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, they're great fun games. They're really cozy, and with less of the godlike complex elements. Next up is another one I don't have a whole lot of experience with on the Wii specifically, that being Monopoly. Hold on, there's a really ugly sticker on here. Hold on, this might be the... Oh, yes, we got it off clean. Okay, anyway, but yeah, this is Monopoly for the Wii. Again, unfortunately, I just don't have a whole lot of experience with this. I never really played a whole lot of board games on console. The only ones I ever played were the Game of Life on PS1, which I still go back to play just because I love that game. It's a really cozy game on the PlayStation 1 where you're playing the Game of Life, except you're driving around in a car on the boards, and, you know, there's some really cool cinematics and animations in the game. Okay, that sticker on the back isn't coming off. I tried. But it's just really cozy, really nostalgic for me, so I've always really enjoyed that game. And then another one that I started playing a few years ago and still play consistently is Uno on, like, my PS... at the time, I started playing it on my PS4, but now I play it on my PS5. I've just always really enjoyed that game as well. I played it on Xbox for a time, too, because I'm pretty sure it was on Game Pass. I forget if it still is, but nowadays, I'm really just playing on PS5. Just, you know, when it's, like, late at night, or if I just, you know, want to kill a few minutes, just, you know, just something to do, something chill, something laid back. I like playing Uno on there, because it's, you know, it's just Uno, but, you know, in game form. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Monopoly. I'll have to go back and play this one at some point. I'm not sure if you're required to play with other people. Again, if you are, that wouldn't necessarily work for me, but if you're able to play it solo against the computer, then, you know, that's one I could go back and play. Next up, we got Wii Play, which is one of my favorite Wii games, specifically the cow tipping minigame in this one, where you're, like, running along, hitting the scarecrows and all that. That one was always my favorite. I remember anytime I went to my grandma's house, and then, like, my parents would come pick me up, I'd be like, no, Mom, I'm not going yet. I gotta run this cow minigame one more time, man. Try to run through, get a high score and whatnot, get my best times. But yeah, there's a lot of great games in here, right? Like, you got the shooting mini game where you, like, shoot the targets or bottles or whatever as they go by. You got the tanks mini game. You got the, like, tennis mini games. You got the one where you can, like, shift your me to fit inside of the bubbles that pop up. That one was always a lot of fun. And yeah, there was just, like, a lot of fun games inside of here. Oh, there was that one where you have to identify which ones are matching, because they'll have two matching Miis in a crowd. You gotta kind of, like, point and figure out which is which. Wii Play was essentially like Wii Sports, but unhinged. You know, Wii Sports was all about the sports, whereas Wii Play was like, okay, we're gonna have some sports inside of here, like you have with, like, not tennis. Did I call it tennis? My apologies. I meant to call it... Wait, what is it called? The one where you, like, you're on a table, and you hit it No, it's not like Pong Ball or something. What the hell is it called? I don't know what it's called. It's the one where you got the plastic, like, racket thing. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. You play it on the table. Ping ball, Pong Ball, something like that. Anyway, you got, like, that one here. Sorry if I called it tennis before. I'm stupid. I don't know my sports. I'm the guy that sits my ass playing video games all day. You got that, and then, like I was saying before with, like, the cow tipping mini game, like, it was like, okay, yes, you have some sport-type things inside of here, but for the most part, it's just gonna be, like, unhinged Wii, Nintendo stuff. Just like, well, if you can do something with the Wiimote, we're gonna let you do it. So I've always loved Wii Play. I love how unhinged the game is. It's a great time. Next up, we have two games that, I guess I can just kind of show them off both at once, and these are actually the final games. I kind of wish I would have, like, showed them off separately, so we could have had two different times to talk about these, but, you know, we can just go ahead and talk about them both at once, I suppose. Those being Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, ending off on an absolute bang, and in fact, hold on, let me show you guys something really cool that my mom just gave me a few weeks ago. I don't know where in the heck this was or how she found it, but man, I love my mother. Anytime she finds something cool that she knows I'll like, she always gives it to me, and I am so grateful that she gave this to me. This is the Super Mario Galaxy official soundtrack. Again, I had no idea where this was at, but it has, like, the, you know, the CD inside of it, and on the back, it just, like, has all of these songs from the game, man. And Super Mario Galaxy, let me just put it like this. Nintendo soundtracks are some of my favorite soundtracks in all of gaming, and Super Mario Galaxy is obviously one of them. I would say if I had to pick a favorite Nintendo soundtrack, it would probably go to Donkey Kong Country 2. I feel like that's not a hot take. Donkey Kong Country 2, or, like, I don't know, man. Ocarina of Time's definitely up there. Super Mario 64, I don't know. DKC 2, or Ocarina of Time. I think those are the ones that have to go between. But again, Mario Galaxy is definitely right up there as well, man. The soundtrack, I know we haven't even talked about the game yet. We're just talking about the soundtrack, but seriously, that just tells you how good the game is if we're just still talking about the soundtrack. But man, Super Mario Galaxy is such an innovative title, and it's a shame that we haven't seen more representation for it from Nintendo, whether that just be bringing it back in a simple way, which they technically did for 3D All-Stars, but 3D All-Stars in itself was kind of a joke, not because of anything that they inherently did wrong with it, with the game itself, but because of how they released it and how they handled it with it being a limited release. That was absolutely moronic, and I can't believe that they did that. That's just spits in the face of preservation and really the games themselves, I feel like, by doing a limited release like that. Like in the case of smaller publishers like Limited Run doing a limited release, they're doing that so then the game actually has a physical print to begin with. But when a massive publisher like that is publishing a first-party game and they make it a limited release, it just, I don't know, it just kind of feels like a spit in the face, not only to the consumers and the customers and the gamers that just want to play these games, but also to the games themselves, because games are art, and treating art like it's just some sort of limited time commodity to bank on all of the people that are going to buy it up immediately and then scalp it down the line, you know, it's just kind of like, I feel like we've kind of lost the plot at that point, you know what I mean? Like, if you've already made the cartridges, just print some more so then it can be more available for more people to experience it. Like, I don't know, that's just, I'm not trying to get too, like, sentimental or emotional here, but seriously, I care very strongly about these things. You know, I love video games, I live for video games, and it just makes me sad when, you know, preservation is basically just looked at and then laughed at and just spit in the face like that, even by a first-party publisher like that when dealing with their own games. And beyond Galaxy 1, we haven't seen any representation for Galaxy 2. Galaxy 2 came out on the Wii, and we just haven't seen anything for it since, so I hope we get some sort of representation for it at some point down the line, some sort of re-release or something like that. If they already redid Galaxy 1, they could definitely do Galaxy 2, but to finally talk about the games, Galaxy 1 and 2, especially Galaxy 1, is very similar to Mario 64 in the way that it's a bit open-ended, right? Like, it's definitely linear in the sense that, you know, you're going to reach the end point eventually, but how you get to that point is definitely up to interpretation or up to how you want to play the game, right? Like, you're going to be in space, you're going to be jumping from all, like, these mini planets, and I've always loved the way that the camera follows you in the game, how, you know, you're running around the planets, and it follows you the entire time as you're running around these spheres. Like, it just looks so cool, and like, I don't know, man. Like really, that's the only way that I know how to describe it. It's like, what if Mario 64 was in space and just had, like, these, like, crazy elements to it? And, you know, like, the different power-ups that you can get in the game, all of the different, like puzzle, platforming elements to it, and just a lot of the unique things that this game introduced are just, I don't know, man. Mario Galaxy is one of those games where you play it and you just know by the time the credits roll, you just played one of the best games of all time. And not just one of the best games of all time, but a game that's going to go on to be one of your favorite games of all time, and is just going to truly stand the test of time. Mario Galaxy is something amazing, and I really hope that more people are able to experience it here soon, you know, whether that be through a remake, remaster, or a simple port or re-release of some kind. More people need to be able to experience Mario Galaxy. And then going on to talk about Mario Galaxy 2, this one, even less people have gotten to experience since it didn't even get the 3D All-Stars treatment like Galaxy did. And Galaxy 2 definitely still had the open-ended elements, right, where you're like running around all these crazy planets and whatnot, but this one was definitely a bit more linear, a bit more straightforward, but that doesn't make it any less of a good game. Like, bro, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, they're like two peas in a pod. I feel like as long as you experience Galaxy 1, you're good, but like, you still, like, you know, like, as much as I can say, yeah, you're good if you at least experience this, you still got it, like, come on, man, it's still Galaxy 2, you still gotta experience this. Like, if you can afford it, if you can pick it up, it's one of those things where it's like, if you can only afford one game, sure, just play Galaxy. But if you can afford both, you'd only be missing out if you didn't get Galaxy 2 as well, you know what I mean? Fantastic games, and Nintendo truly knocked it out of the park with a lot of their first-party offerings for the Wii. Now, you may be looking at this like, alright, where's, like, Zelda Skyward Sword? Don't worry, I've already played that game, I have it digitally, still gotta get it physically at some point. This is just that situation where I said before, like, there's a lot of games that, yes, I want to add to my collection. It's just that this is kind of where we're standing at the moment. I have a lot of other systems I need to collect for at the moment, like the PS5, the Switch 2, you know, Xbox Series and whatnot, so the Wii is definitely one that I will get back to someday. It'll be kind of iffy because, again, markets are ever changing, they're ever evolving, you know, the secondhand scalper prices and whatnot. It's just, it's kind of a mess, but it always works out, so I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that I can still get my hands on those games at some point down the line, because there's still just a lot of other games coming out that I want to play, that I want to buy, that I want to get in the collection. Gotta get the Switch 2 as a whole still. There's some other games I could rattle off, like Twilight Princess, but that's just a game that I prefer to play on the GameCube, because the Wii version is literally just like a mirrored version of the GameCube version, and the motion controls were kind of just shoehorned in last minute. I'm not saying that the Wii version is like a bad way to experience the game, of course not. It's just I prefer playing the GameCube version, because that's like clearly the original intended version of the game, since, you know, Link is literally left-handed, and yet in the Wii version he's right-handed because they had to like mirror the entire game. Tiny nitpicks aside, yeah, anyway, that's where we're sitting with the Wii collection for now. I'll stop yapping. I've had you guys here for long enough, but anyway, that is a look into my humble yet evolving Wii collection that hopefully I can make a, you know, successor video to this at some point in the future when I have many more games to show off and talk about. But anyway, as always, massive shout out, thank you to all the patrons and channel members, thank you to all you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out, thank you to the big ball tier, my last king, and Big Dad Manny, and the biggest shout out, thank you to all in the G tier, run events on the G Thank you guys so much, you guys are literal legends. I love you. Kurani Dodoki Arigatou gozaimasu. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.